So I talked about in my last video how I do epoxy resin. So I first did this to fill LED segments, but it's useful for Playfield. So remember, they filed for a patent. Who was it? The Hexa Pinball guys, right? And what they do is well, I talked about it in the last video how they fill it, but this is how I do it. You just put some tape straight up over these. Boom. And then when this goes upside down, this will be weighted against the bottom, and I'm going to pour from the other side, and then when it's done, I just rip that right off. So there you go. You can see the tape catches the glare right there. It's over all the inserts. And then we're just going to flip it upside down here, fill resin from the bottom. All right, so here we go. Got my resin, A and B. It's going to go in here. Now I'm doing it into this aluminum here, just in case it gets too hot or something. It says this one can get really hot and melt if you pour it too thick. And I want this to settle for quite some time here because, again, you see how it drips. I don't want it to be drippy. I want it to be almost done when I put it in there so that it's not going to leak through the bottom. And now I'm going to drop in my white tint. So I'm just going to do one, see what we get out of there. One drop will go a long way with this stuff because you want it to still bleed light through. And we'll start mixing it here. So I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. There you go. You can see with one drop, it's pretty good. I'm probably going to go another one just so it's a little bit more looking like spookier, so where it's pure white. There you go. It's a little bit more white. I could go a little bit more, but we're going to go with this. We're only going to do a couple. This is a new epoxy I've never tried, so I saw some people saying it's not drying out or staying tacky, so I want to see. It's also a little bit humid here in the garage, well, a lot humid, so we're going to see how this hardens. Put a timer about 30 minutes, come back, and then we'll go about 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, keep checking it. And when it's pretty thick, man, we're going to drop it in there when it's really thick. 30 minutes is up. Let's take a look. Still pretty liquidy. We're going to wait. Probably needs another 30 minutes. Just about 1 hour in. Still pretty liquidy. All right, so here we are. I got my resin. I'm going to start pouring it right in. So create like a little lip here to get it off. There you can see the resin inside. Just gonna wait for it to cure. Looks like it's not dripping through or anything so far. It would be probably pretty drained, so should be sitting in there good, and then we'll just remove the tape. I'll show you that. So there we go. Flip it over. And from here, see if I can get the light. Then all we gotta do, take this tape, and we're gonna peel it right off. Look at that, beautiful. Now you can see they're not quite as white as they should be. It's still a little bit tacky. So hopefully this resin does cure, because some people said it didn't. But that is almost 100% flush. It's got maybe, oh man, it's probably got like 1/4 of a millimeter above, maybe, something like that. So we'll still have to sand that down just a tad bit. So here today, we're gonna talk about Hexa Pinball, right? They went on Pinside a few days ago. They put out a press release, said they had a patented technology where they can do custom arbitrary shapes, any size, whatever, on the playfield. And they do this via resin casting. I started going and asking questions. You can see here, I was like, hey, is there a link to the patent? Very curious what's going on here, because their claim is pretty bold here that they're the only ones that do this. I went to the Spooky Pinball thread and the Beetlejuice owners thread, and I said, hey, Spooky, Hexa claims that they have a patent for this technology. Don't you guys resin cast? So the first Spooky game I played, I don't even know. But I can tell you that, well, actually, I think it would have been Southern Fried Gaming 2019. I think they were there when I first came. So I was like 3 months or 6 months into my company. I didn't know shit about anything. I didn't even really know about Spooky. I think I played their Ultraman games maybe there at the time. Just seems about the right time. But furthermore, then as I got more into manufacturing and studying stuff, there's a local arcade here, the Pinball Lounge. They got the Scooby-Doo game. And you can just, I just noticed, you know, everything's super milky white, all the inserts. And I'm like, oh, they're probably resin casting them. And you can even see on the upper playfield, there's some feet shapes. And those are not, you know, it's custom. It's 100% custom the way it is. So I'm like, okay, they're already doing that. And this is a technique I looked at, I talked about on mine. To save money, I didn't have an industrial printer, so I did a poster print and I cut the shapes out either with a laser or a thin spindle like a Cricut or whatever. So poster print, cut it, put it on top of a playfield, and then between the playfield and the poster print, I put a diffuse film that's just a really thin film, like a tracing paper film. I'm not sure the name specifically, but it's like a Mylar type film. It's milky white, translucent. That's how I did it. Because I was doing the poster print, right? I wasn't doing direct print to wood, and that was kind of different. From there, I've kind of realized, you know, you could just do the Turner route where you take your anti-abrasive plastic, print underneath it, and just throw it on, and you're done. You don't have to do that extra step. However, that you have to have access to one of those printers. So that's kind of the thing is, I've been trying to do things really super budget. So the printer I need to do professional graphics that look really nice, good quality, was only like 3,000 bucks, right? It's 80 grand to get like a, 60 grand or so to get a flatbed printer that can do different printing. So anyway, back on the Hexa stuff. So this is a technique I developed as well before I knew Spooky was explicitly doing this. And this even goes back when I was resin casting my own segmented LEDs. If you look at my Pinball Eternal, the original design wasn't going to have a display. It had 3D printed like fire segmented LEDs. And if you go to LED segmented technologies, like every old pinball machine had segmented displays, it's all just diffused resin cast, translucent, milky white stuff cast right onto the plastic, right? So there's an LED in the bottom, and then at the top segment, it's all just cast in there. So this isn't a new concept. For pinball, maybe, right? You know, your application is, you're doing the same exact thing, but you're just putting it in wood for the purpose of a playfield insert, okay? But here's what happened. So I went and read the entire patent. I'm looking at their photos and I'm checking it out. The way they do it looks like Hexa Pinball flips a playfield over, cuts a bottom channel out really close to the top, pour resin in, let it dry, flip it back over, and then they shave down the top, and there's your exposed insert, and it's a flush playfield. Okay, so where are we at now, right? So when I develop this technique, what I do is what I'm going to show you right now. However, again, in this Pinside thread, I said, hey, Spooky's been doing this for 10 years, right? And they said, no, actually, that's not what they do at all. I pointed to a game that has the translucent stuff. It's custom lettering. They said, no, I'm sorry. We actually have that playfield here, and it's not how they do it. I'm like, Spooky Luke just told me in a public forum and personally in a direct message, that's how they do it. So I went to them and I'm like, hey, we got to resolve this issue because they're claiming that they own this and they're kind of flexing this aggression here, right? So I talked to them a little bit, and then I realized their process. So in theirs is they cut it like a normal insert. They put a shelf down the same shape so that they can pour the resin and it doesn't drip through the playfield, right? So that's their method. Mine, you're gonna see, I just put a piece of tape, flip it over, and then pour the resin and then just rip the tape off. I think it's way easier than both of these guys. Again, will I do this in the future? I don't know. It's a way to do it, and you can certainly do custom shapes. You could actually just laser cut the shapes and put them in like a normal insert anyway. There's a lot of ways to do it. But yeah, these guys still think that like they own it. They're going back on this thread stating that like, no, this is their technology. It's new. Nobody does resin casting. And I just kind of I'm just here to show you guys that I just do a completely different method, which pouring resin into a playfield to diffuse lights is something that Spooky's done for 10 years. American Pinball's done for however many years. So that concept's not a novel idea. The way that these guys do it, where they flip it upside down and cast it and then shave off the top, maybe that's a unique idea. Maybe they're the only ones that can do that. But here I'm just showing you another method, because if they own the method, I am publicly disclosing the other method, which I think is better. And now one thing is why this annoys me is because for me to have done this, This was just one day I did it, right? I got up, I drilled a hole into a piece of wood, I filled it with resin, I put the tape and whatever. I actually did it also on Pinball Eternal on there's a skeleton door that has custom lights that light up, right? It's pretty cool. I'll see if I can show a photo of it. But those are cast the same way, tape on a 3D printed thing poured from the back, and then I removed the tape. But it just annoys me because, again, what I was saying is you take a drill, put it in wood, fill a hole in, which again, it's not any new technology. A lot of things do this, except maybe pinball. But you fill it, you're done. So you buy $10 worth of resin, you drill a hole in 3 seconds, you cast the resin in 30 seconds, you let it dry. You spent $0 on R&D. You didn't do this huge investment. You know, you look at like Multimorphic, right? He designed this whole platform. He's got metal things. You know, he invested a ton of time into putting an LCD screen into a Playfield. Like, that's a real investment. That's a real thing that I can commend somebody for patenting. But not to drill a hole and fill resin in 10 seconds. Like, as an engineer, that's just lazy to me. I don't respect that, really.